falling endlessly into a frightening dark abyss, your heart dropping faster than your body, your stomach along with it. Suddenly, you jerk awake, breathing heavily and thanking God that it's just a dream. You're safe and warm in your own bed, even if you're a bit confused. This is an experience that many of us have had, but why? Why can't your brain just let you sleep soundly at night? From ancient civilizations to today's leading neuroscientists, many have asked the question of why we dream. Some believe that dreaming is just a side effect of other neural processes that happen when we sleep, or your brain's way of staying activated when external input falls below a certain level. Personally, those theories seem a little bit boring. But others hypothesize that dreams are far more meaningful, serving as a mechanism for fulfilling our deepest wishes, increasing memory performance, or practicing crucial problem solving and fight or flight skills. Now, that's a little bit more like it if you ask me. But what makes this so intriguing is that despite state-of-the-art MRIs and brain mapping technology, nobody knows the real answer. The vast majority of the mind is still a mystery. So naturally, with my years of expertise, I decided to conduct my own cutting-edge scientific research on the matter. I was even able to get a fabulous deal on some lab space. It was just a few feet in each direction, but you wouldn't believe the magic that happened inside. And I have some great news for you. You can set up your lab and start collecting data today. In fact, if you own a bed, you already have the space and you sleep in it every night. So my research process went like this. Towards the beginning of the pandemic, I began writing down my dreams first thing every single morning. I've kept it up since then, and that's about it. I wasn't exactly sure what specific patterns or phenomena I was looking for, but I just assumed that something groundbreaking, or maybe just a little bit interesting, would pop out at me eventually. So I'll cut to the chase. Have I solved the centuries-old question of why we dream? Sorry to disappoint you all, but not exactly. Rather, I've learned a lot more about myself through the process of connecting with my subconscious. I plan to continue my research for as long as I'm interested, but I'd like to share with you my findings thus far. So first of all, you may have heard your math teacher say that your brain is a muscle, and in order for something to become ingrained in it, you have to practice. Well, turns out the same thing is true if you want to learn how to remember your dreams better. For the first few months of recording my dreams, remembering them long enough to even open my journal and start writing was a struggle. I would get frustrated at the way that the words felt so intimately familiar, yet I couldn't seem to pinpoint exactly what was going on in the dreams or who was there or what was happening. How was I supposed to unlock the secrets of the mind if I couldn't even collect the data? The only thing that I could remember oftentimes was a residual feeling of the dream's events. For example, fear, intrigue, excitement. Whatever that was, I would write that down just to get in the habit of writing something each morning. And eventually it started to work. After about a few months, I would say that I could successfully remember details of the dream about 75 to 80% of times, which was super exciting. I would spend half an hour laying up in bed, recounting every single detail of these fascinating and bizarre stories. And eventually, my mind got so used to retaining the night's dreams that even when I had thought I'd forgotten something, the simple action of opening my journal would spark a memory. And pretty soon, it felt like I was right back where the dream's events left off. That's the power of practice. Beyond just remembering my dreams better, the dreams themselves became even more frequent, realistic, and interesting. Falling asleep and seeing what my mind had in store for me that night honestly became one of the most fascinating parts of my day, especially considering it was during the pandemic and there wasn't that much else going on. So, with this newfound clarity of the specific elements of my dreams, I decided to give dream interpretation a shot. Many believe that the specific symbols in our dreams correspond to desires or things going on in our everyday life. This theory was originally developed by the famous neurologist Sigmund Freud, who believed that every object in a dream was a window into our most central and primitive thoughts. So, as an example, I had a dream one time that I was flying in an airplane that was hovering high above the Atlantic Ocean, and it just stopped. And it let down a long ladder, miles long, all the way down to the bottom of the ocean. Each passenger had to climb all the way down the ladder, where they would be faced with the crucial choice between 3 different life rafts. One was for people who liked chocolate ice cream. One was for people who preferred strawberry. And the final one was for those who liked vanilla the most. So, according to the dream interpretation symbols from a very reliable book on Amazon, the plane would mean that I was dealing with ambition, risk, or wanting to leave something behind. The brown chocolate life raft represents warmth or practicality. The red strawberry means passion or fear, and the white vanilla represents awareness or clarity. So to put it all together, this dream was telling me that I needed to take the ambitious choice of leaving something important behind. But I would come face to face with the decision between the warmth and practicality of the familiar or following my passions, even if it involved facing my fears. And eventually I would find some clarity with the situation. So you would not believe it, but this interpretation resonated with me so little. As much as I would love to think that the contents of my dreams could predict the future or give some sort of psychic insight into what was going on in my daily life, this just wasn't the case. I tried to forge the connections, but honestly, the ones that I found were kind of a stretch, and the interpretations of the symbols, which, by the way, would vary immensely depending on who you ask, were far too vague to really mean anything. So sorry, Mr. Freud, but better luck next time. So then, if the content of my dreams didn't seem to hold much value, then what did? For me, I found that my dreams had a close connection to my overall well-being. When I would get a short, poor night of sleep, I would hardly dream, or it would be hard to remember my dreams if I did. Similarly, during turbulent periods in my life, when my mental health was generally poor, it felt like I entirely stopped dreaming altogether. And when I would remember bits of dreams here and there, they would usually be nightmarish. On the flip side, during some of the most happy and fulfilling times over the past few years, my dreams would be vibrant and adventurous and insightful. So in this way, it wasn't exactly the content of the dreams that gave me insight into how my subconscious was feeling, but whether or not I dreamt at all. I began to use dreaming as just one indicator of my general mental health. For instance, a few dreamless nights was a sign that I just needed to reset and prioritize myself. So that's all great, but my original question still lingered over me. Why? One theory seemed to align with my research. In his book, Why We Dream, Dr. Matthew Walker presents the idea of dreaming as a form of overnight therapy. He suggests that REM sleep dreaming takes the painful sting out of the difficult or even traumatic emotional episodes that you have during the day, offering emotional resolution when you awake the next morning. When I first read this, I had the same thoughts that some of you might be having right now. What? You're telling me something absolutely terrible could happen one day, and then I sleep and dream about it and wake up and everything's okay? Trauma doesn't just go away that easily. I agree. I was skeptical too. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized that it made sense when looking at my personal experiences. No, problems don't just evaporate overnight. But the initial visceral emotion kind of does. So I invite you to try it out. Think of a time when you felt extremely upset or angry. Try to close your eyes and retreat back into that moment. Think about how deeply you felt those emotions at the time. I'll give you a few moments. Okay, so you probably still feel somewhat upset about the situation, but it's unlikely that you feel the emotion the same way that you originally did. This is a normal part of the human experience that you probably don't think about that much, but there is a reason for it, and it may have to do with dreaming. Walker explains that this ability that we have to move on is partially attributed to the amygdala and other emotion-related parts of the brain being highly active during REM sleep, while the production of noradrenaline, a stress-related chemical in the brain, is entirely shut off. So, in short, your brain processes and even replays emotionally charged experiences with the chemically emotional aspect entirely removed. So when you wake up in the morning, a factual account of the experience is remembered and stored, while the emotional aspect is essentially forgotten. So, I recorded my dreams, I read the books, I researched the theories, and eventually it all started to come together. When I couldn't seem to shake the feeling of exhaustion or loneliness, my mental health was generally poor. And when my mental health was poor, I didn't dream. According to Walker, this meant that I didn't have that stress relief process going on, so the emotions stayed more closely related to my experiences and memories, and I felt them more intensely more of the time. It was difficult to live in the moment because I felt bogged down by the emotions of the past. On the other side, when I slept and dreamt well, it was much easier to live in the present, taking each day and moment as it came without overbearing anxiety about past emotions or experiences. So that's it. Stop all the research, alert the media, Walker's theory has been confirmed by one girl in San Jose, California. I'll be here waiting for my Nobel Prize. Okay, so maybe not totally. If it was that simple, we probably would have come up with a definitive answer as to why humans dream centuries ago. But what makes this question so difficult is the ambiguity of dreaming. The way that I experience my dreams is probably entirely different from the way that you experience yours. After all, each brain is unique, and we experience things in our own abstract ways. So what can you take from all of this if I don't have a real answer for you? Well, if anything that I've said in the past 10 minutes has interested you, even slightly, then I recommend picking up a new hobby, dream journaling. Write it, draw it, voice memo it, dictate it into your phone notes app. Whatever it may be, taking just 5 minutes in the beginning of the day to record your dreams will help forge a deeper connection with your subconscious self. You'll learn about yourself, how your brain processes information, and maybe, just maybe, help solve this conundrum of a question once and for all. And it's pretty fun if you ask me. And while you're at it, let me know if you can figure out why the falling thing happens in our dreams, because that one still puzzles me. Thank you.